So what do we learn this week about Splendid Temur? And overall, we finished with a 3-2 record, which isn't horrible. Our matchups were super weird. They were heavily weighted towards control. We played mono-blue control, we played blue-red control, we played blue-black Colossus, which is somewhat controlling. So lots of control matchups, and I kind of feel like control matchups are relatively hard for our deck. The problem with control matchups with this deck, apart from Cathartic Reunion, which is just so brutal when it gets countered, is they can just counter our finisher. If they counter our Splendid Reclamation, it's going to be really hard to win. If they counter our Part the Water Veil, it's going to be really hard to win. So there's just a lot of things that can be countered that loses us the game. So if our opponent has a single negate or a couple of negates, that can just make it so we really can't win the matchup. That said, we did win some of the control matchups. We did beat mono blue control. So I think the deck is really sweet. It's really unique. It's really sweet. It worked fairly well. We definitely get some really powerful draws where we contingency plan on turn 2, pieces of the puzzle on turn 3, find a Splendid Reclamation turn 4, we Splendid Reclamation for 5-ish lands, and that's a super powerful spell. Plus 5 mana for a 4-mana spell is just so above the curve, and it doesn't take that much work because we're kind of doing things we want to do anyway. Contingency plans isn't great, but pieces of the puzzle is finding us Nissa's Renewals, Part the Water Veils, our removal, and so forth. We have the Kozilek's Return to sweep the board. The World Breakers are very good. We get so many lands that we kind of have infinite World Breakers in the late game, as long as they die. And if they don't die, then we're beating down with a huge World Breaker. The one thing I was thinking, though, is as far as upgrades, I don't know what we can do to really improve the control matchup other than just hoping it doesn't happen. We finally stumbled on the fact that in some control matchups, Thing in the Ice is actually our best option because it comes down before the counters. I think it was mono blue control in specific. It was just so good, and that's what actually ended up winning us that matchup. But I don't know what we can do other than bringing in all our counters from our sideboard and trying to play that kind of game. It's still a challenging matchup, though, blue-red control and decks like that. But I think the most powerful potential upgrade would be to add in an Ulamog or two. That's one of the things that I really wanted with this deck, was a faster way to close out the game, because sometimes we ran into these situations where we would get our big reanimation spell, get back a ton of lands, and then we were stuck like cast a World Breaker, nuke a land, get it chumped or get it killed. A few turns later, we're casting more World Breakers, and the game just goes on so long, which gives our opponent a lot of time to find their World Breakers, find their Aetherworks Marvels, things like that. Even though we didn't run into the Marvel matchup, I imagine that that could be a thing that would happen. So I think that maybe some sort of hybrid, like the ramp deck we played, the blue-red ramp deck, combined with this deck, but instead of using onboard ramp, trying to use Splendid Reclamation and graveyard stuff as ramp, and then having the Ulamogs is a more guaranteed and faster finisher. They still work with Kozilek's Return. We could easily run Sanctum of Ugin as a way to find our Ulamog, so we can reanimate all our lands. That includes the Sanctum of Ugin, get back a World Breaker, cast a World Breaker, tutor up an Ulamog, and then we're guaranteed to close out the game in short order. And it felt like our Splendid Reclamation got us back enough lands that we could consistently cast an Ulamog without a lot of trouble or a lot of work being put into it. So I think that's the easiest way to just upgrade the deck, and I think the deck is fairly powerful. I think it is somewhat matchup dependent, as we talked about, but I think you could just slam some Ulamogs in this list and probably have a decent amount of success with it, especially in a meta that's filled with kind of aggressive creature-based decks. I think that's where this list really shines, sort of mid-range, green-black Delirium, decks like that. The other concern I have with the deck is we're a bit slow. Like, if you look at what our deck's trying to do, and it's slow in comparison to Temur Marvel. So, Temur Marvel is playing a Marvel on turn 4 more than half of the time, and getting an immediate flip to find an Ulamog, 30-40% depending on the exact build and hand and so forth, but a reasonable chance to just Ulamog on turn 4. Our deck is looking to Splendid Reclamation on turn 4, hopefully have enough lands in our graveyard from early support, which often happens with Contingency Plan, Pieces of the Puzzle, Cathartic Reunion, but doesn't always happen. We definitely had a couple of situations where we had Splendid Reclamation, but not the support cards and the lands in the graveyard to make it work. And then on turn 5 or turn 6, have enough lands to cast our big stuff, part the Water Veils with Awaken, Ulamogs if we upgrade. So I think there's a little bit of risk that we just aren't really faster or better at doing what Marvel's doing. Marvel's just doing it more efficiently and with less work, because they're not playing Contingency Plans, they're playing Servants of the Conduit, they're playing Rogue Refiners, Whirler Virtuosos to support their combo, while we're playing Contingency Plans, we're playing Cathartic Reunions, which aren't bad cards by any means, but they're more all-in cards. Contingency Plan isn't going to be a backup plan to win us the game, neither is Cathartic Reunion, or even really Pieces of the Puzzle, while when everything goes wrong for Marvel, they can just beat down with Rogue Refiners, Whirler Virtuosos, Stop Their Tokens, that kind of stuff. So we're more all in than Marvel, and we don't have as good of a backup plan, and we're a turn-ish slower. So that's my main concern, is it in some ways this feels like a worst version of the best deck in the format. We do have some cool stuff. We do get Crush of Tentacles, which is awesome. We do get the Part the Water Veil lock, which lets us win the game right away. So there's a lot of cool things going on, and I think it's really fun, but I can't imagine that this build is better than Temur Marvel at playing Big Eldrazi early in the game. So I think that's the other concern. Of course, that's a pretty spiky concern. If you just want to have fun and be pretty competitive, I think Splendid Temur is a great option. But if you're looking for the next best deck in Standard that's going to take down a GP or something, I think you'd probably just want to lean towards playing Temur Marvel, because I think it's just a little bit faster, has a better backup plan, and is probably more consistent than what our deck is trying to do. So anyway, I think that's it. Throw in some Ulamogs. We're competitive. Control matchups are not good, but I don't think we're as good as Temur Marvel at playing Big Eldrazi. So I guess that's a TLDR. Anyway, that's been our Much Abrew for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.